Kufuor. I'm back at y'all again. Now I'm coming to talk about the 4 ventricles in the brain. Now out of those 4 ventricles, you have the 3rd and the 4th, which is very important because they are lined with something called the ependymal cells. And these ependymal cells line the central nervous system. These ependymal cells, when your body is at a traumatic frequency, they start to spark. And what happens is they become very intricate in their relation to the brain. So within these 3rd and 4th ventricles where these cells are lined, these ependymal cells, what they do is they start to shoot out transmissions through your outer cells into the universe. This is why when you're in front of plants, they can feel you. It's because of these towers, these cells, that shoot out these transmissions or these emotions, and these plants can feel your emotions, meaning they can hear your language of how you feel. Because how you feel is a language to certain things in nature. How you feel is a language to certain things above your head, such as the stars. They can hear you speak by how you feel. See, we communicate differently, but these ependymal cells, they communicate by way of transmission of emotions into the atmosphere. When they let off transmissions from your brain, right, into the environment, the plants can hear you speaking through your emotions. The stars can hear you speaking through your emotions. And there's certain things that's unseen that can hear you speaking through your emotions because you have other dimensions and worlds in this world that's hidden because of the senses that you don't have yet developed. Now, there's a light that we breathe in. I'm not talking about oxygen because it's not only oxygen that's keeping us alive. And these ependymal cells process this light into the 3rd and 4th ventricle of the brain. And when the 3rd and 4th ventricle of the brain process this light, right, at a certain or specific time of you sleeping, what happens is these other worlds that is unseen starts to open up. And I also did some research on the capillaries that lines the vertebrae. The central nervous system is something that they don't really want to talk about because the planetary systems and your central nervous system is aligned. It has a lot to do with each other. Now, how does these ependymal cells initiate or spark? Your neurons have to be at a traumatic rate of frequency. This is why when people get into traumatic experiences and stuff like that and go into comas and come out, they're able to do things that they couldn't do before they went into coma. Why? Because it opens up another personality of you on a higher frequency because it has to align to balance that lower traumatic frequency that you're going through. So these ependymal cells, and yesterday I talked about the teeth having organs. Well, these ependymal cells in your teeth have communication. So even when you're eating something, you're chewing with your teeth, whatever is in your food, whatever is constructed in your food, those genetically modified organisms, whatever transmissions they're sending out, it goes through your teeth into your nervous system, and these ependymal cells processes it into your blood. In your body, there are other personalities. And this is where psychiatrists come into play. These are the people who they pay to study you, right, for something that is a reality in your body, but they tell you that it's not, that you're crazy. So the medications that they give you, which have chemicals in it, right, which is constructed to go to war with certain chemicals in your body in the form of energy and forces, because we know that thermodynamics teaches that one of the 5 forms of energy is chemicals. So your medication is chemical. We have different personalities in our body of ourselves from past lives and future lives, because we've lived in the future before. We are the ones traveling back and forth through space playing with time, and we think that it's somebody else. But again, once you hit a new body, that 3rd and 4th ventricle puts you under a spell to make you think that you are somebody else and that you are new and that you are an individual or I or me. There's no such thing as an I or me. These words were created by man. And these 3rd and 4th ventricles, right, is the monitor. These 3rd and 4th ventricles are those 2 entities that is attached to a brain in the sky, which we call the sun. The sun is a brain. The sun is not something giving off fire. There's no heat coming from the sun. We know that if you take a lighter and strike it and turn it upside down, the fire is going to flip around the lighter and burn your finger. Heat rises, it don't fall. We know that. That's common sense. We don't have to go to school to learn that. So you ask, where does the heat come from if not from the sun? Well, the sun is magnet. It's a magnet. And there's atoms in the atmosphere. We know that in the summertime, the sun is at its highest magnetism, causing these atoms to collide aggressively to each other, causing friction. And what happens when friction occurs? Start to heat up the environment. So the heat that we're feeling is from the atoms colliding to each other aggressively in the atmosphere. In the wintertime, the sun shines brighter than it does in the summer. Right? But it's cold. That's because the magnetism of the sun is sleeping now. It's suppressed. So when the magnetism of the sun is down, the megahertz is down, right? Those atoms start to slow down. There's no more friction now. They're not colliding to each other aggressively.